It was a very shocking end to the fight on Saturday night. I just wonder whether what happened on Saturday night actually relates to Conor Benn, because the massive weight cut at 33 years of age, where he did he did a ghost weight cut even though the fight against Conor Benn was off. And you saw those emaciated pictures of him at 157 pounds on October the 7th. I just wonder whether his body hadn't recovered, physiologically, whether it hadn't returned to itself, because we've never seen him without that kind of tensile strength that he showed against George Groves, Arthur Abraham and other fighters. Or did he age overnight? We just don't know. But I just don't think this is the end for him right now.
Gareth, I was driving down from Perth, actually. I was up in Perth, and I was listening to you and Adam in the show. I was thoroughly enjoying it, the show coming down before the fight. And it was interesting to listen to the period. And I've got to say, I knew Liam Smith wasn't without a chance. However, I was actually really surprised at just how clinical and devastating the finish was.
Yeah, it was 9 power punches in, a minute into the fourth round. And up to that point, really, I mean, they had a kind of phony war in the first round, and Eubank looked like he was controlling the bout in the second and third rounds. And then it was suddenly all over out of nowhere. And look, it can happen in boxing. One change, it's a cruel sport. It's a brutal, cruel sport. And one punch can change a man or woman's career or even their life, let's be honest. It's so inherently dangerous. But he was caught in the corner there, and he didn't stay down on the ground and recover. That's one thing that he also didn't do. He was up on wobbly legs. He was like a drunk on a Manchester street. When he got up. It's very, very unexpected. No way could anyone have predicted, even though it was 100-1, I think, with the bookies, that there was a fourth round stoppage. No one could have predicted that outcome.
Well, see the way it did finish. Does that make the rematch questionable at best? Because Liam Smith, he's certainly got other options now, whether it's Kell Brook or indeed Golovkin.
Well, there is a rematch option, so it will cause perhaps legal problems, given that there is a contract there for a rematch if Eubank invokes it. I think he will, because he's a very proud, a very brave man, and I think he will invoke that clause, because you could hear him intimating it in his post-fight comments that he was caught by a 1 in a million punch, or a punch from hell, or whatever it was, that he believes that it was just that it was one of those moments where he was caught and his brain, was scrambled. Mm-hmm. I think he'll want the rematch. I think he'll want to prove that Liam Smith isn't the better man.
Do you think Liam Smith is the better man?
Well, he may have his number, Laura. I mean, on the night, Smith was fantastic. We must take, for all these excuses I'm kind of planting there for Eubank, you can take nothing away from a brilliant performance by Smith, who stalked forward and was looking for that moment. They've seen Eubank Jr. under Roy Jones Jr. with his hands lower, with a different kind of style. But the shocking thing is that we've never seen Chris Eubank Jr. And he's been with some big guys, remember. He went 12 rounds with George Groves, several rounds with James DeGale. Arthur Abraham was a very strong fighter as well. People will question Eubank's credentials at the top level. For me, he will want to get back in with Smith because he'll want to prove something.
Gareth, there was one thing that I heard you guys speaking about before the fight, which I couldn't agree more with. I mean, there was, at the press conference, kind of overstepped the mark a little bit. It was actually very disappointing to hear, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, homophobic slurs from Liam Smith, who apologised for it afterwards. It's not the kind of thing that is even an insult, nor it shouldn't have ever been, nor will it ever be. And the board will look into misconduct charges with them. I think to go back to your original point, I think the Conor Benn fight is always there for Eubank if he wants it. I think it will always sell. People really wanted that fight last year. It captured public imagination. So Eubank can go and fight Smith again, and regardless of whether he wins or loses that fight, people still want to see him in with Conor Benn. But he's faced huge ignominy, and it's a massive fall from grace. Eubank's been a name for a long time, but he's a fallen one right now.
I'll push you a little bit on that, Gareth, actually, because I was watching the press conference too, and I'm a big fan of Liam Smith and his family. I think he's got a great family. I love his brothers. I think they're brilliant fighters. I was so disappointed. Even now, I find it difficult to celebrate the fight because I was so disappointed by the language that he used and the people that he would have affected by using that language. Because I think in times, especially last year, boxing has been in a really bad position in terms of press and attracting different people and younger viewers and all that sort of stuff. But also the idea that we're trying to become a place where gay sports people can come out without worrying about it. And when it's used as a sort of barb to throw at somebody in a press conference, and it's not handled in that press conference either, and there's a few apologies afterwards, and Liam himself coming out and saying, look, I'm far from a homophobic man. I don't know. It's left a very bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it reflects how people feel and think and speak internally, what they think is an insult. It's not an insult. That's what's totally wrong. And like you say, to the wider world, it is an insult. But to accuse someone of a certain sexuality is not a slur. It shouldn't be a slur. And the way he did it was appalling. I think they should be hauled up. Or not necessarily Eubank, but even Eubank was then drawn into, and I've heard you cheat on your wife. It's not the kind of thing that you need from two fighters. I mean, I think Liam will realise it was very foolish. And I think in some ways, Eubank, who always plays the heel, had got into his head and irritated him in a deep way. We saw that when they sat with Johnny Nelson for the gloves are off, that Eubank was consistently winding Smith up, but it's no excuse for what he came out with. I do think the Boxing Board of Control should take proper action of misconduct over words from it, and I do hope that it's not forgotten now that the fight is over. I think you're right, Laura, to make a point of it, because boxing has been dragged through the mire. I mean, I think we had it with Cal Brook and Amir Khan a year ago in February when Amir Khan was accusing Cal Brook of certain things in the same way, and it's just pointless. And it's a smear on boxing when they do it, and it's a smear on themselves as well. We don't need it.